This is Gary. November 2025. So, latest news. It seems that, Mr. Donald John Trump, current President of the United States of America, former game show host, famous tabloid celebrity con man guy, and close bud of one Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted child sex trafficker. Trump was indeed aware, it seems, with recent information made available to the public. Mr. Trump was aware of Epstein's activities. So, yeah. For a while, maybe, before excommunicating or whatever. Epstein has claimed in emails to have information on Trump, compromising information. And that's been also reported by others as well. Some claiming to have even seen the actual evidence, photographic evidence of Trump, I don't really get, how it got this far, but is this what makes the fever break? The Trump fever. He's got to be removed first to start to cure the fever. The fever will still be kind of going for a while, though, even after he's no longer the president. Because he's only one guy. The fever spread wide, and now, like, the iron fist is it's squeezing hard. Ice is roaming around with no consequences at all. Just kind of roaming around, beating people up, terrorizing people, terrorizing American communities, and receiving a federal paycheck to do it. Until those individuals face criminal consequences, they're going to continue to do that. Engage in terrorism. Bought and paid for by the United States government, being conducted against American citizens in some cases. In some cases, just human beings living here in the United States peacefully may or may not have a particular document that's deemed the one you need to have. Yeah, racism and small-mindedness is still alive and well in the United States of America. Donald Trump was a champion of it. He was a champion of ignorance and small-mindedness and being real bold and unapologetic about it. He is a racist. That's known about the man. Whatever your excuse is to vote for him anyway, it probably has something to do with, I'm not a racist, I just... and then words after that. I've heard it plenty of times. Why did you vote for the guy that claimed Barack Obama wasn't born in America? What's your excuse? Now, the key thing is if you're voting for Trump, whether you don't think you're a racist or not, you're not an anti-racist. Yeah, he's not an anti-racist. He is a known racist individual. I'm not really sure why that has to be explained or like debated. He has small-minded views on people's because of their race or ethnicity or country that they were born in. He just thinks negatively of them. Doesn't make, it sucks. I read in a story recently. It was a minor one. I'm not hearing a lot of info about it, but it's probably because there's just so much going on. But that and the reopening the government thing, the Republicans had some little thing in their bill to try to criminalize cannabis yet again on the federal level. For the last several years, they've kind of looked the other way as, states decided that we're not going to put people in jail for using this plant that makes them feel better. Instead, we're going to tax it and make lots and lots of money off it that we're going to use to invest in No, the goal was to use the monies raised to invest in, you know, for the greater good type stuff. I'm not sure how much of the tax revenues raised from the cannabis industry here in Washington, what it's specifically gone towards, but nonetheless, tax revenues have been raised massive amounts by just legalizing it. It's part of my daily life. I have epilepsy. Epilepsy is a condition where you have surges of energy in the brain of varying intensity and length every day, throughout the day, every day of my life. One in 72 people have epilepsy. It's one of many conditions, ailments, whatever, that human beings can get some sort of relief from by using cannabis. It's also like Parkinson's, PTSD, just minor aches and pains and stuff too. I mean, there's all a wide variety of things, and not just CBD stuff, but some ones with THC. Yeah, but the stampling on state rights and individual liberty is still very much a passionate thing with the current version of the Republican Party. They're very against justice for all and individual liberty and state rights. They're very against it. These are their mottos, individual liberty, don't tread on me, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, they've become very oppressive in the last few years. I really hope there's either just a dismantling of that organization and its members, the people that vote for that start voting just something different, or a restructuring of that entity. Either way, I hope there's new options that start being presented sooner than later. Because they're already there, they already exist. It's just information being made available to them, them being considered a legitimate option. A country this vast should have many options, and the people should have confidence to vote whichever one they want, knowing that that one is still a preserving of democracy. But that's not what we had last time. We were presented two options. One was, maintaining our country as a democracy, trying to move forward, onward and upward. The other one was not that. It was Project 2025. It was blaming all kinds of things on immigrants and going after immigrants and cutting Department of Education, dismantling the Bill of Rights. So that was the other option. That was R. Stood for Republican. Their option was Donald John Trump. A man who's very old now, not very bright. Not that he ever was that bright, but is diminishing fast, very fast, with no real moral center to keep him aloft or whatever, like he's a morally and ethically bankrupt human being. And that information was made available to the public decades ago, books and, documentaries and such, it is what it is. He is what he is, whether the Republican Party nominates him or not. Like, who that guy is doesn't really necessarily have to do with politics. He sort of grabbed the political debate and we let him grab it or something, News just fell for it. He said, "Look at me, everybody," and they did. But people do that all the time. I'm doing it right now. I'm saying, "Hey world, look at me. I have something to say." But it's similar to what other people are saying, but I also don't really necessarily want to be like famous or something. But it'd really be nice to have some sort of, I don't know, push towards sanity. We've gotten really off the rails. That's the slow, steadily accepting of that something that's not acceptable. A convicted felon as the president, a rapist, a fraudulent businessman, insurance fraud, tax fraud, and all these are known about the man. Like his sexual deviancy stuff, like that was known prior to the nomination too. He's a creep and a weird guy. I'm weird, but not the way Trump is weird. He's a sociopath. I'm weird because I'm almost too empathetic. I worry too much about things that are completely out of my control. I have no way to really fix. But just naive hope to just sort of saying positive things into the ecosphere, it'll somehow inspire others to do it, because that's why I'm doing it, because people have inspired me. Like that guy from Maine that's running for Congress out of nowhere just because that and stuff. He's just like a pretty regular dude. So there's some warts and stuff. I would have to consider that if I was ever to run for something or something, and for House or whatever. I served in the government once when I was in college, and a rewarding but also kind of a dreary experience too. Like the nuts and bolts of politicking, or true like lawmaking. It's pretty mundane and pretty boring. Parliamentary procedure. You can get buried in the weeds very easy, and then there's all kinds of like little technical tricks to kind of stall and delay, which the Republicans are experts at. Although just refusing to show up to work, it doesn't really. I wish that would not be a method to try to get your particular motion passed. We're just going to not show up to work until you finally relent and give us what we want. That's not really part of parliamentary procedure. You have to stay in session, you know. But they didn't. They just stopped going to work for several weeks until a few Senate Democrats finally caved, which I think the Republicans knew they would at some point. Republicans said it out loud. We'll just stop going to work forever if we have to. You know, we are not going to sacrifice the gains that we've given the wealthiest. Yes, we had to cut Department of Education, health, and all that kind of stuff, but the wealthiest have way more money now. We're not going to, you know, pull any of that back. Yeah. No, that. And then it also the Epstein files too. But a big part of it was like, no, we are not going to increase the tax rate on the wealthiest. We're not going to pull back any of the money that we gave them. And we, as in really like a collective, we, our society, have given billionaires more money over the last several years. The way they make money is by owning things, and those things are companies where thousands of people work at. So thousands of people devoted massive amounts of man hours and time and labor while getting increased costs and expenses. And so like having to expend quite a bit of money just to get to work and do the work and stuff, a lot of energy. True monetary compensation doesn't always truly cover the cost of working. But yeah, these billionaires own those entities, and so now they have more money. Those entities are less obligated to pay people a living wage, and those entities also own the economy. Yeah, how many options are there for work that's not a corporate location? It's pretty limited. And so, yeah, so they can kind of do things, work in cahoots. What's the term? Cohort. Starts with a C. Not on the top of my head, so I'm going to just move on. Coercion? Yeah. No, that's different. But anyway, working in cahoots, basically. Even if it's like a loose affiliate, but, you know, rigging the system, as Trump says. Yeah, but it's people like him and the owners of the economy. They dictate price and choice. Socialism for the wealthiest and biggest, most massive corporations. That's what the government was shut down for most recently. The Republican Party wanted to make sure that that stayed intact. You know, working class people are going to have costs go up, wages stagnate, but the wealthiest got more money, and that's what's most important. And making sure that Donald Trump can live another day without information being revealed about him, that's extremely damning. But so much information has already been revealed that it really is there a straw that breaks the camel's back? I don't know. I mean, what would it take at this point? Is this finally the one that does it? Like, yes, Trump knew about Epstein and was still close buddies with him for a long while. Is that what does it? Is that what finally breaks the fever? I don't know. I hope so. Something. I mean, you got to break at some point, right? Donald Trump's a famous confidence man who became a game show host. He inherited a lot of money that he used to buy stuff. Yeah, if you inherit several $100 million, you can buy fancy things and live fancily. You know that, right? It's not a great accomplishment. It just means you kind of won the birth lottery or whatever. So I hope people figure it out. We dump the Trump and start working towards democracy again, because it's going to be a long grind even after we dump Trump. Even after he's no longer the president, we're still in for a long haul of trying to break the Trump fever. Because it's not just him. He's only one person. His loyal foot soldiers are many. And their cause is apathy, cruelty, indifference, ignorance. Yeah. And that's kind of their cause. That's what they're champions of. So hopefully more people become champions of peace, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and justice for all. Amen.